This is one of those games I didn't have much of an impression of when it was being teased and shown off. I just saw it on Twitter, thought it looked interesting, and put it on my to-do list. Obviously, the art style was very attractive, and the game looked to be a combat-focused Metroidvania. You take control of 3 siblings, but that's all the knowledge I had before heading into it. And if I can jump the gun a bit, I was super underwhelmed here. I was shocked when the credits rolled after only 5 or so hours. Now, I don't mean to say that this game is bad or anything, rather it just wasn't quite what I expected it to be. But we'll go ahead and dive in so I can explain myself. This is Greak, Memories of Azur. We've got ourselves a Metroidvania with a very nice looking hand-drawn 2D art style. This in and of itself is nothing new, but Greak sets itself apart from the rest by having you take control of 3 distinct characters at the same time. The game begins with the player guiding this young boy, Greak, but eventually you'll gain access to his younger sister, Adara, and his older brother, Raydell. You see, a Metroidvania usually involves finding upgrades or new tools to open up new paths in previous locations that contain more items to do it all over again. The same can be said for Greak, but instead of upgrades or tools, the other siblings are how things continue to open up. Each sibling is unique in their own way. Greak is your scout. He has a double jump, a dodge roll, a mostly useless crossbow, and he can crawl through narrow passageways. Adara is a magic user. Instead of a double jump, she can hover in the air for a short time and breathe for much longer underwater. Then there's Raydell, who takes on more of a warrior's role. He has the same double jump as Greak and can use his shield to block things in front or above him, as well as a grappling hook. Exploration is mostly always broken up by having characters moving through the location until a locked door or an obstacle that only one sibling can work with shows up. Then that sibling will take care of the situation until they can be reunited with the others. None of the exploration was ever bad, but puzzles had very few opportunities to feel fresh due to the limited number of possible solutions. The answer will always be one of the siblings, so it's just a matter of using the D-pad to select them. I wouldn't want to call any of the puzzles brain dead or anything. I mean, the final puzzle actually stumped me for a bit, but that's the closest I would say the game gets to clever. There are plenty of smaller secrets to find as well. You've got your typical treasure chests hidden about the world that contain money and other useful items, but I was disappointed to discover that there weren't any new techniques or abilities that the characters can gain access to. None of the siblings gain any new means of getting around the environments from the moment you begin playing as them to the moment the game ends. Again, it gave the exploration a feeling of stagnation as I progressed. Yes, it's true that the gimmicks and components of the puzzles change depending on the area, but the things that the characters can do never evolve past what I explained to you a moment ago. As far as combat goes, it's more of the same. Greak and Raydell are very similar, with a basic forward slash, an upward slash, and a downward slash while you're in the air. Greak has that dodge roll that actually did do a good job of helping me get around attacks, but his little crossbow is nothing that should be relied on in the middle of a fight. Instead of a dodge roll, Raydell has his shield. It's put to good use in one boss fight, but other than that, it's mostly relegated to a puzzle-solving tool. He also has access to a grappling hook. You can grapple onto walls and enemies, as well as these grapple points. It's fun enough, but the enemies don't have any interesting interaction set up with it. It just pulls them closer. Now, these two might have similar moves, but they do deal different amounts of damage, with Raydell being the stronger but slower counterpart to Greak's faster, weaker hits. Adara shoots short-range magical projectiles, but they can be fired off rather quickly, and if she charges it up, it can be great for taking care of pesky enemies. And now this leads into what I would consider the most disappointing aspect of the game for me, which also, unfortunately, happens to be the biggest part of the whole experience, and that's maneuvering all 3 siblings at one time. The way in which you control these 3 unique characters at the same time in a platformer isn't as intuitive or user-friendly as it should have been. You can swap back and forth between each of the siblings at any time with the press of the D-pad. However, you completely switch control to the other character, meaning the other 2 are just standing still now. There is a function to take control of multiple characters at the same time if they're within a certain range, but the solution they came up with creates an even bigger problem by simply mirroring the inputs for your controlled character to the others. I want you to keep in mind that these characters have very different abilities and tools for traversal, which causes basic platforming with all 3 siblings to be unnecessarily stressful. What should be easy peasy jumps turns into frustrating tests of precision trying to get everyone across one bottomless pit. And when they're all finally across, we stop and regroup. Greak and Raydell have it a bit better when paired up, but Adara's levitate move needs continuous directional influence, and if I'm making the same jump with either of the other two, that means they're going to continue to run forward for a second or two after they've landed. Or I could choose the much more time-consuming option of doing every platforming section 3 times to minimize that risk, but that's not fun, it's aggravating. And the same problem can be applied to battling. Having all 3 siblings huddled up can tear through enemies, but it's nearly impossible to be precise with your attacks. Who is doing what and who's targeting which enemy is a question that can't be answered, due to how the follow button only mimics the inputs for your lead character, causing some silly looking flailing from time to time. And Raydell stops momentarily to attack, making him lag behind the group in a situation where the characters need to stay synchronized. For the tougher enemies and bosses, I just left the group in a corner while I used one character to take out the boss. They were actually just more fun that way too. The follow function can work, but the amount of setup, even if only for a few seconds, makes jumping in a platforming game something I don't look forward to. It's like the system is built to play like Pikmin 3, but the world is built to accommodate Sonic Heroes. In other words, the core mechanics resemble that of a strategy puzzle game, but the world and scenarios are set up like an action platformer. You never feel like you're controlling a unit. You're either fighting with one of the siblings while the others sit back and watch, maybe the AI throws out an attack if they get close enough, or you're attacking with one while the others brainlessly copy the inputs, which completely sucks you out of the experience. These characters don't feel like real siblings because of how fake and rigid their actions constantly are. They feel like video game characters that I have to control at all times, and if I'm not, they're unable to make decisions. A real big brother wouldn't just stand there and let his little sister get hit. He would step in front of her and use his shield. If you're going to make this a single player experience where you control 3 characters at the same time, don't take your own mission statement so literally. A little automation would make the player's journey far more comfortable. Getting punished for leaving what's supposed to be a capable warrior by themselves while you tend to something else is dumb. A capable warrior wouldn't just stand there while danger is approaching. They'd get out of the way, defend themselves, counterattack. I was sucked out of the experience so often because of how frequently I was forced to play babysitter. Again, in Pikmin 3, the pilots can be in completely separate areas from one another and completing separate tasks. The main purpose for this is to make the most of the limited time you have in that game, but it also makes each of the characters feel like they have goals of their own, like they can operate by themselves. But that's not the case with these 3 stooges. Imagine Greak doing a side quest to get his other sword attacks, Adara is collecting something for a quest, and Raydell is completing a shrine to get some extra health. Of course they would all need to be together for big dungeons and main quests, but I think I'd be so appreciative for the option to optimize a playthrough like that. It would instantly make the characters come across as far less robotic. You could even give the player an actual trade-off for venturing one character away from the others, as they're obviously better equipped as a unit. And if you have these siblings and their love and companionship is such a big part of the whole shebang, you need to sell that to me more through the gameplay. Special team attacks or tag actions would help make the combat more interesting just off the top of my head. It's not bulletproof, but it's a direction I'd be excited for the next game to take. I don't think I really need to talk about the visual design too much because it's obviously amazing. The backgrounds are incredible, even if I wish there were some brighter colors from time to time. The character animation is on point, even if I wish the main characters had a few more in-between frames, but the animated cutscenes, ooh, they were divine, especially when the siblings reunite. As a middle child myself, I felt this one pretty good. The narrative was a little undersold if you ask me. The entirety of the main quest is dedicated to getting this airship working, and it's literally accomplished by going on like 4 MacGuffin hunts. It got repetitive. The dialogue, even from our main cast, is written in pretty uninteresting ways, leading to them not giving off any distinct personality quirks. The only time they seem like real people is during those cutscenes. That subtle body language really picks up the slack. There was one cute recurring joke I remember where the shopkeeper kept interrupting the blacksmith as he was talking to the siblings. They don't react to it at all, but it was cute enough. And as far as the music goes, it didn't do it for me. I can get down with huge orchestral arrangements, but I didn't find these to be very compelling. Masterfully composed stuff, not to be dishonest here, but none of them really stood out of the crowd with catchy melodies to hum as I'm exploring. Just a bit too ambient for my taste, I guess. I don't find Greak to be a bad game in the slightest. It more so strikes me as a really pretty game with a great concept that just hasn't reached its true potential. The companionship mechanics need some major overhauling to make everything more user-friendly. You know how every piece of promotional art for this game shows the three siblings fighting alongside each other? Bolstering the companion AI would be a major step in that direction and make those frustrating instances of cheap damage less frequent. It'd be nice to see some additions to combat, such as setups and follow-up combos that the siblings can do together, and that would make me want co-op for this game so badly. A 3-player co-op mode would honestly fix so many of the problems I have with this game. But this would also call for the disappointing enemy cast to be beefed up and given more interesting options to engage the player. The boss fights were the few moments where the combat really shined for me. The shield guy was a good example of a fun player-enemy relationship, with the countering of his attacks to make him more vulnerable. And then the last boss had a move that sealed away a sibling if they were caught in it. If that's not a co-op boss, I don't know what is. The exploration and puzzles are what really feel the most compatible with the game we have here today. And while it's admirable that the game is able to introduce so many new concepts while clocking in just under 5 hours, it felt like it ended far too soon. I was almost positive that I had only made it to the halfway mark when we finished the first real objective of fixing the airship. I was thinking to myself, oh yeah, now the game is really gonna begin. But then the credits rolled. No final boss, just an admittedly tough puzzle dungeon. I mean, I had only controlled Raydell for about an hour before being done with the game. It feels undercooked as a result. Maybe there's post-launch content coming at some point. Maybe a sequel has already been greenlit. I mean, the game is performing well enough, it seems, so it's not out of the question for something like that to come and fix all the issues and then some. I went through the Steam version, but the Switch version is what most people have been flocking towards. It's a great little portable title, especially given the short length. For $20, you could do a lot worse, but you could also do a lot better. I'd say this is a harmless buy if you're really curious, but I would honestly recommend you play Icy, either Ori title, or Dust and Elysian Tale before Greak Memories of Azur. But anyway, I appreciate you for watching, so thanks for stopping by and have a great day.